Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in. Today I want to talk to you about securing a motorcycle in a Forest River 18RR. The reason we chose the Forest River 18RR is because it's a double axle trailer and it's long enough where you have a little bit of room inside once you put your motorcycle in to be able to move around. The problem we ran into, however, is that the floor hooks on so many of the trailers are irregular in their spacing in the floors that we weren't sure if we were going to be able to secure our motorcycle inside the trailer and still be able to access the stove, the refrigerator, the shower and bathroom, and the bed while we travel. Because sometimes when we travel, we want to be able to stop and have lunch and be able to get into the RV and use the facilities, or we may want to stay overnight without unloading the motorcycle. So today what we're going to look at is our solution that we came up with to secure our motorcycle inside the trailer and still be able to access everything in the trailer while we travel. Let's go look inside and take a look at the tie-down arrangements in the floor of this 18RR so we can show you how to set up your motorcycle to be tied down securely for travel. Alright, here we are with the table stowed away in the bunk area and the sofa lifted up out of the way so it's ready to be loaded. And what I want to do is show you the arrangement of the floor hooks. You can see here in the front we have two hooks that would be good to tie something down. The problem that we run into with those is that if you tie a motorcycle down this far in the front, there would be no access to the restroom and you would be climbing over it to get in and out of the door of the RV. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie it down with these two hooks in the middle, and there's two hooks also in the back. The problem that we have run into is with these two hooks here in the middle, as you can see, they're offset clear over here by the refrigerator. And if you tie your motorcycle down in between these hooks, there's no way you're ever going to be able to access the refrigerator because the whole motorcycle will be shifted this direction. However, in the back, the hooks are shifted to the right side of the RV. So if you put your motorcycle here and center your motorcycle up with these two, that will still give you room to get into the refrigerator and the stove and other things that you need. Problem is that when your motorcycle is centered with this, it won't line up to secure it with the hooks in the front. It would secure it on the left side, but there's nothing to really tie the right side of the motorcycle to. And what you'll do is you'll end up having your motorcycle tend to tip over this way into your refrigerator and into your pantry. So we've come up with a solution to secure the motorcycle right here in the middle to where these doors will open and you can get by, and you'll still be able to use everything that you need to do in your RV, and your motorcycle will be safe and secure for travel for long term, and you don't have to worry about it ever tipping over and breaking anything in your RV or damaging your motorcycle. We're going to start by getting a measurement on these tie downs in the floor so we know how we are going to put our wheel chock and secure our motorcycle. This is going to be where the front wheel of the motorcycle is going to be secured. So center to center on these tie downs is approximately 38 inches, and that leaves us about 25 inches from the right hand side of the trailer. Keep in mind that when we're all done, the center of the motorcycle is going to be right about here, so it's going to be pretty close to this tie down. Another reason we chose the 18RR is for the patio feature. If you notice on this version, the ramp actually makes into a patio, and it comes with these side rails and a screened back porch, so you can close up the back with a sort of a canvas cover, or with the screen, or you can have the patio, and all you have to do to load your vehicle is to remove these cables here on the side, and the whole patio folds all the way down to the ground, and you ride your motorcycle up inside. So here we are with our motorcycle chock that I bought to secure our bike. And by the way, we have a Yamaha 1300 touring is the motorcycle that we're going to put in here. So it's a fairly large bike. So I selected this wheel chock here, and it's available from Walmart and Amazon and Harbor Freight. They're pretty easy to find, and you can usually get them for about 70 bucks. So I got this wheel chock, and then I went to my local Lowe's and I got a 6-foot piece of this angle iron. Now I chose this because it's got holes in it, and it's a whole lot lighter than a regular standard piece of angle iron, which weighs about 5 pounds more. And of course, weight is a big concern in this situation. So what I did is I cut this at 39.5 inches, which is the distance to the outside of the tie downs that are inside this RV. And when you cut these, make sure that you take a grinder and bevel the ends of it, because you don't want these jagged edges sticking up if you're going to be walking through the RV, because they're very, very sharp, and you will very easily cut your foot if you happen to kick them as you're walking by or step on them, and it would be a dangerous situation. So make sure you bevel that. So this piece I cut to 39.5 inches, and it just so happens that the piece that was left over, it was a 6-foot piece, is just enough to extend this wheel chock over to the tie down to hook everything up. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to assemble this so you can see exactly how it works. Now it may be a little bit confusing at first until you see me take it inside and how it's actually going to bolt down to the floor, and you will have a solid mount for this wheel chock inside the RV. Let's get started. I used 3/8 bolts, which take a 9/16 end wrench, and these are very strong bolts. And what I'm going to do is I drilled a hole here in the wheel chock, and I drilled 2 holes here on this end to put my bolts through. I'm going to put a long bolt through here to hold this in place into this hole. Then I'm going to use some flat washers as spacers, and I'm going to put them between this piece of metal and this piece of metal as a spacer here. And I'm going to do the same in this other hole that I made right here. Then on the back side, on each one, I'm going to use a nut and a lock washer. Now what we want to do is leave these loose until we install it in the trailer. Just start them on a few threads. Got one there. And we've got one here. Now what this is going to do with these spacers is, if you come over here and look, the heads of these two bolts that stick out cause a gap. So what we're going to do is try to keep all of this in a straight line all the way across here, and the floor hooks are going to come up between here. This keeps this piece of metal straight, and it doesn't put any lateral force on it, so it keeps it strong. It doesn't decrease the integrity of this piece of metal, because this is fairly light steel. Alright, let's go inside and I'll show you how it bolts in on the floor. Okay, one more thing before we get started. I went to Walmart and I bought shower mats, and these are really sticky, non-slip. Now if you notice, this wheel chock can slide around on this floor pretty easy, and it'll also slide on a piece of carpet very easy, and even this rug that we have in front of the sink. But these stick to the floor, and they're very good to hold the wheel chock in place as an added bit of security for your motorcycle. So we're going to put these down, and then we're going to put our wheel chock in place, and I'll show you how to get started on that. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our mats, and I want to lay them down like this. This one I cut in half. I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to put it through a slit in the center of this mat, like so. So the tie down is standing straight up and down. Then on the other side, I'm going to do basically the same thing. And I'm just going to put the mat up here close enough to where the wheel chock isn't sitting flat on the linoleum here in the trailer. I'm going to do it like this. That should hold it down really good. And then I've got a whole mat that I didn't cut, that I'm going to put right here in the middle. And just throw it out. And once the weight of the motorcycle is in this chock, sitting on this stuff, it won't slide around. So now we're going to put the wheel chock in place. First thing I'm going to do is on this side, with this long bolt that I have here, I'm going to pinch this tie down in between the piece of metal and the wheel chock. And then I'm going to run the bolt all the way through. Now notice I put some extra washers back here to make sure that doesn't bend the metal. And then I'm going to put a washer, and a lock washer, and a nut on the back. Over on this side, I'm going to do the same thing, except what I'm going to do is put the tie down sticking straight up, and I'm going to put it in between the pieces of metal, like so. Now what I'd like to do is take a bolt and a few washers and put here to kind of space this out to make sure that it's got plenty of support. And a washer, and a flat washer, and a nut. And then I'm going to come down to this very end, and again put in a couple of extra washers, and I'm going to go through the metal, through the tie down hook, all the way in, And I'm going to put a couple of flat washers on it. I'm also going to put a lock washer and a nut. Now with a 9/16 wrench and a 9/16 socket and a ratchet, you can secure this whole wheel chock in probably 5 minutes once you get your system set up and you know just how everything goes. Now here's what the system looks like. Of course it's not tightened down yet, but as you'll notice, the wheel chock can't go anywhere because it's bolted straight directly to the tie downs. They're in the floor. So once this is all secured, you're actually going to have 3/8 bolts holding your motorcycle in place. Okay, now that we have the wheel chock in place and we've got our non-skid mats underneath it to protect the flooring and to keep it from sliding around, I'm going to use a 9/16 socket on a ratchet and a little crescent wrench to tighten all of this up. This whole process, once your wheel chock and everything is cut, should only take about 5 minutes to install the whole thing into your vehicle. Alright, here it is secure, and you'll notice that we had to drill the holes in this to offset the wheel chock to this side, but eventually when we get the motorcycle in here, the back of the motorcycle is going to be in the center of the two tie down spots in the back. But here we are with the wheel chock totally secure. It's not going to go anywhere. And not only will it not go anywhere, but here's the pantry door. It'll open right above that and just clear it. And the refrigerator door will also open. And it'll open up past the wheel chock. Now when we get the motorcycle in, we'll see how well the refrigerator door opens and how well the pantry door opens with everything in and secure in place. Also keep in mind that depending on which type of motorcycle you have, your wheel chock may need to be moved some to the right or some to the left to clear the table or to clear this. So different types of motorcycles, the positioning is going to vary a little bit. And as I said before, we are going to tie down a Yamaha 1300 V-Star Touring here in this position. So next up, loading and securing the motorcycle. Alright, here we are getting ready to load the motorcycle. And I want to give you a couple of tips before you get started. And the first tip is always have your trailer, when you're getting ready to load it, hooked up to the tow vehicle, and have your tow vehicle in park and with the parking brake set. That way, when you load your motorcycle in, if the trailer shakes around a little bit, it's not going to fall off any jack stands or the tongue jack. The second thing is, because we have a Yamaha V-Star and it has relatively low ground clearance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jack up the front of the trailer as high as I can get it using the tongue jack while it is still hooked to the tow vehicle. And what that will do is that will slope the trailer back and make less of an angle at the apex of the ramp to give more clearance underneath the motorcycle. One more thing, I'm also going to lower the back trailer jacks just so they touch the ground. And that way when the motorcycle is coming in, it'll give a little added stability to the trailer so it won't shake around quite so much. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and get the trailer ready to load. Now the trailer is ready for loading. Another helpful hint is when the trailer is jacked up like this in the front, it's a really good time to go ahead and hook up your sway bars if you have a recurve type hitch, because there's less pressure on your weight distribution hitch and it makes it a lot easier to hook it up. Alright, here we are with our V-Star 1300. And we're getting ready to load up. Now, I've already prepped the trailer, lifted the front end up and lowered the ramp and got it ready to go. And on the motorcycle, I'm folding up the highway pegs and the passenger pegs just to make sure it gives it a little more room when I get inside. And here we go. I'm going to load it up. Here we are with the motorcycle loaded, and it's in the chock, and as you can see, it's in there pretty good already, but it still wiggles back and forth a little bit when you pull on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these straps to strap the motorcycle to the wheel chock in the front and to the RV tie-down hooks in the back. Now, one of the best ways to tie down your motorcycle is over here on the side, rather than tie to the handlebars or anywhere else where it's going to put stress on the motorcycle suspension. What you want to do is you want to bring your strap through right here by the wheel and tie it down right here on top of the forks, and this will hold it securely in place and you won't have to worry about stressing your motorcycle suspension. So So we'll go ahead and get this thing tied down and see how it works. Start out by just getting it a little bit snug, and then go over to the opposite side. And make sure when you're tying it down that you're not catching any brake cables or your reflector mount or any of that. That way you're just pulling on this part of the forks right here where this knuckle sticks out, and it's where the fender bolt's on. Now we'll get the other side. As you can see, it's already getting in there to where it's pretty tight. It looks like it's leaning a little bit that direction, so I'm going to pull this side down a little bit tighter. But you don't want to pull on it too hard, because you're just holding it with these eye bolts that go through the wheel chock. So we'll go ahead and get the back strap down so you can see how I did that, and then we'll get everything evened up and see how it works. Now I've already tied the other side down here in the back. What I'm going to do is tie the back of the bike down by the luggage rack. And I've got it centered between this hook and the one on the other side. It's just how it worked out with the hook arrangement on this trailer, the tie down arrangement. So we're going to go ahead and tie the back down. Now, one thing I want to mention with this is because these back tie downs are going to be pulling down on the suspension of the motorcycle, what we want to do is tie them down evenly, and we want to put just a little bit of pressure on the back of the bike, about as much as if you had a passenger on the rear end of on the back seat. That way it doesn't do any damage to the suspension as it's riding along and being compressed a little bit for a long period of time. You don't want to damage that shock in there. So we're just going to pull it down, and we just want it snug. We don't want to get real carried away with it. So as you can see, It's just kind of holding the back of the bike. And it could be possible, if you're afraid it might come loose, taking a little bungee cord and hooking across these straps just to keep them taut. That way, if the motorcycle bounces, it keeps any slack out of the bungee cord. So here we are with the bike tied down. And even though it seems pretty loose here in the back, I want to show you how well it's holding up. As I shake it, I'm shaking on it pretty hard. And it just barely shakes the motorcycle back and forth. It's not going anywhere. It'll ride here, hopefully, for as long as you want to drive. And one other thing, as I mentioned with this system, the reason I did it this way is because I wanted to be able to come up here and get in the oven and use the stove and the sink. And it's a little bit tight getting through here, but you can walk around and use everything you want in the RV. The refrigerator door even opens all the way. So you can open the refrigerator, access your sink and your stove, and you gotta kind of scoot by, but you can get into your pantry, no problem. So here you are with the motorcycle secure inside the RV. It's not gonna go anywhere, and you can still use everything you want. That way, if you ever want to stop and camp overnight, and you don't feel like unloading your motorcycle, you can still access everything. That can just sit right there until you're traveling again.